All right, welcome everyone. It is Wednesday. It's 4:30 p.m. Central Time. It means it's a bit smoky outside from the Canadian wildfires, but otherwise it's office hours here on the Academy. This is where you can learn about updates from the previous week on everything Intune ConfigMgr, deployment, Windows in general, and this is also where you can ask us any questions you like on those topics. And let's get this one going. All right. Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Hey there. Not too much, as you said, trying to stay inside and breathe in some somewhat fresh indoor air at the moment. But otherwise, we're halfway through what has been an incredibly busy week, I think, for both of us.
Yep. It sure was.
How are you doing over there?
I'm surviving. That's-
That sounds about right.
but I have my coffee. It's office hours. Cannot entirely be too bad. And I got my new Father's Day present up there on the shelf from the
Very
Ted
nice.
Lasso show.
Is that the believe sign?
Hey, yes, sir. Sure
Excellent.
is.
Excellent stuff. I love it.
Yeah. So, any news for us, good sir?
I have come across a few things. Been some important or lively discussions over the last week, I'll say. If you want to share my screen, I can go ahead and start running through some of those.
All right, here we are.
All right. So, first thing that I saw was the ability to. Actually, I just saw this morning. In preview currently, you can now target conditional access policies towards Microsoft admin portals, which is pretty exciting, I think. Right now, you can only target these specific portals, so the M365 Admin Center, Exchange Admin Center, Azure Portal, Entra, and Security. But since it's in preview, the documentation does say that they're going to be adding more portals over time. So we've talked about conditional access on and off here on office hours. I'm a very big fan of it. So anything that adds some additional flexibility and the ability for us to secure those portals is a big deal in my book. So I'm very happy to see those. I came across a post from Niels Cook on helping create the Windows Lapse user via remediations. So Niels wrote up a couple of scripts here, both the detection script to see if the user account exists and the remediation script that if it doesn't, go ahead and create it. So we've talked a little bit about how Windows Lapse works and how you have to have that user in place if you're using either if you're using a custom user or if you're using the built-in admin. So if you're using the built-in administrator account, you have to have that re-enabled. If you're using a custom one, that account actually has to be created before Lapse can take over and start managing the password. So this should go, I haven't tested this myself yet, but looks very promising. This should go a long way in helping us automate that part of Windows Lapse. So I was happy to see that as well. We also had, and I happen to have this up already when you shared my screen, so that was a spoiler alert, Intune Service Release 2306 came out recently, and the two biggest things that came out of that was the Windows Driver Update Management integration went GA. I have not seen it pop up in my tenant yet, but Microsoft has said that you should see that throughout the week. It's just been a rollout to the various Intune units throughout this whole week, so we should see it by the end of the week. I have seen several people posting on Twitter that it is showing up in their tenant now, so I know the two of us have been keeping a very close eye on whether or not that shows up. And they did release a blog post kind of detailing what this is going to look like out of the gate, and some things that are to come here on Microsoft's Intune blog. The other cool and big addition that everybody was looking forward to is with remediations. So remediations, we talked about last month or the month before, is now moving out of endpoint analytics, which we think makes sense, to move into the devices node. And with this release in preview is now the ability to run an on-demand remediation against a device. So very cool stuff. This is similar, in my view, to what we have with like run scripts and ConfigMgr. Not exactly the same, but similar. The interesting thing I started to see people point out today, though, for those that have seen it in their tenant, is that the documentation is showing that remediations on demand will be an additional license. And I'm sharing this because the conversation played out on Twitter, and it turned out that that's still a decision that hasn't been officially made, even though it is in the documentation right now. And Joe Lurie from the Intune team did have a request that if you're using this while it's in preview and want to give your feedback on that, please use the aka.ms/Intune feedback link to provide that feedback. I don't know about you, Johan, but I plan to provide that feedback myself.
Oh, I'll be happy to. One, make sure it's being deployed quickly. Two, make it free. Or freely
Definitely.
available. Yes.
Definitely. And for those who want to provide feedback here on Twitter, because this was a pretty lively discussion, or active discussion, I should say. If you're on there and want to provide your feedback as well, I recommend it. So those were some of the big things that I came across over this last week. But there are a few other things. You may be shocked to know that I actually follow you on social media, Johan, and you seem to have been fairly busy over the last 4 days or so.
Yeah, that's a good weekend in terms of our productivity, and the last few days has been kind of busy as well. But if you don't mind me stealing the screen from you,
Not at all.
entire screen, screen number 2, and let's see, close at this one and get rid of that one. There we are.
There we go.
So yeah, fairly busy. Well, I can show this one first. For those of you who doesn't have any plans tomorrow morning, Mike and House and I are running a free mini course on upgrading to Windows 11, sharing our notes from the field. If you have any questions on upgrading, good chance to have them answered. What I wanted to show you was this one here. In publishing a few blog posts, this one I'm particularly proud of because this one here was an absolute royal pain to write. It doesn't look much, that script. It's a few hundred lines, but it was a bit challenging to put together. Long story short is that I put together a PowerShell script. So when I do a lot of test deployments, as you do on weekends, I think I was deploying some 90 VMs total, but I ended up with 50 or 55 or something like that in the end. So these VMs I was deploying over 18 different IPv hosts at the same time. And it was really, really hard to keep track of those screens because I simply don't have enough monitors to be able to do that. So this particular PowerShell script will capture a video of each of those VMs. So eventually you will end up with a folder with, in this case, 90 different videos. And each of these videos will show a end-to-end deployment of, in this case, Windows 11. And I'm also about to run out of disk space. I need to run a dedupe job eventually, but that's for later, not right now. Thank you. So anyhow, if I put this one in, it's going to probably stutter a little bit since I'm doing this over RDP, but you'll be able to see that the concept at least. When VLC decided that starting is a good idea. So this is just a PXE boot of a device and then followed up by a ConfigMgr deployment of a Windows 11 box. And obviously speed it up a little bit, but because I capture not every 25 frame per second, because that would be a lot of images. But anyhow, it does ending up at some point here, applying the image, booting up, and here we are in Windows. So full capture of the Hyper-V VM screen converted into a video file using an open source command line tool to create videos. FFmpeg has been around for 20 years, a very long time. Version 6 out is now, it's a good tool. So that was what I was spending my time with there. There was one more thing I stumbled across that made me smile. It gladdens a deployment geek's heart to see there is still some love out there for the good old MDT light touch deployment solution that even Microsoft has. Even though Microsoft has started developing anything for it, we still see community coming together and create creative solutions. And this is Damien apparently working on a new shiny wizard for additional settings during deployment. So looking forward to test that one when it comes out. Then I stumbled across a tweet regarding an RBAC viewer in Intune. It have not yet shown up in my tenants. I'm hoping it will soon, even though it was upgraded to 2306. But this is how it's supposed to look, apparently, when it's available, allowing you to see your roles and whatnot easily. If it's a true RBAC viewer like the one you have in ConfigMgr, I do not know, but we'll see when it becomes available. Yeah, that was pretty much what I had in mind for that. Did I miss something?
Don't believe so. Unless you want to mention, I saw that there was a new 2-pint YouTube channel with a webinar that was posted yesterday.
Oh yes, Mr. Tim has been creative. Let's see if I can find that little post. I retweeted it, so it shouldn't be too hard to find it. Or maybe. Or just a second. I am so close. Yes, here we are. So Tim Mintner and I and Karin from 2Pint, we did a quick MMS recap on some of the sessions that we did at MMS over in Minneapolis in May. So if you want to learn about a little bit on branch cache, delivery optimization, PXE booting over internet together with a little bit of Windows 11 upgrades and other things, this is the one to watch.
Awesome. I do love that slide that Tim had right there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
So a good insight to like a little bit what's going on behind the scenes when Windows is trying to download stuff more or less all the time in enterprise environments. All
Very
right,
cool
thank you for
stuff.
that. Yeah. Subscribe and like, please.
Already done.
Ah, that's fun. I like it. Perfect. All right. I see some questions coming in.
So we've got a question from Alan here on YouTube.
Yeah.
Have you seen a Win32 app not trigger a reinstall with dependencies? The install failed due to a 10-minute timeout. Deleted app ID and GSR in registry. This was on a CPC when provisioning 80 machines.
I can't say I have seen it not trigger if there are dependencies. When I wrote my blog post on deploying large applications from Intune last summer, I did stumble across, of course, a lot of deployments where I would hit that 10-minute limit, but the trick for me was simply to remove all those keys and restart the service, and just kept doing that over and over again until the application was down. I never had a scenario where it wouldn't continue, but I also didn't test having a 25 gig app with dependencies because that will add to it. So I'm sorry, don't have any good idea on that one. I know the fix for it, and that is obviously to spin up local cache servers in your environment. But that is basically setting up an infrastructure that you're probably trying to get rid of. But that will solve the problem. So if you have a network environment where you have Intune only, you can still spin up a ConfigMgr server that will act as a cache server only for Intune content. And that's the connected cache server. So clients will pull the content from that one, and that goes pretty quick since it's on the local network. So that is doable.
Slight sidebar: did I see Phil tweet that that there was an ISP that was promoting their publicly that they were using connected cache?
Yeah, they're using the one that are for ISPs. They tweeted about that or promoted that one. I haven't seen that one, but apparently went out of like the private preview in March at some point. I just missed that announcement, but there was a link that I followed up on that one that explained it. If you have it handy, I can share it.
I can see if I can find that. So are they effectively using that like like Netflix has had around for a long time or something like that, basically
Yeah,
just a
you can,
caching?
yeah, you can think of it that way. It's basically to reduce their traffic because, I mean, if you have, I mean, an ISP, you probably have tens of thousands of Windows devices going through your, if not more, and that can add some significant delays or bandwidth management on top of that. I think I found it.
Yeah, I just dropped Phil's tweet in the chat.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Copy, paste. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. All right. Yeah, that's pretty
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is not the same edition as the one you have
Right.
that comes with ConfigMgr. This is a special version for ISPs.
For not us.
Well, there's nothing that prevents us from registering an ISP. have one customer. You can be my customer, and I can be yours, and we have an ISP business.
There we go.
Yeah.
We'll just give Microsoft a call and ask for the ISP connected cache.
Yeah.
Coming up with plans today.
Yeah.
All right. Robert asked when you were talking about the 2-pint webinar, iPXE over internet. Woohoo! Where can I learn about that?
Well, I'm happy that you asked. It's one of the products that 2-pint sells. It's called iPXE Anywhere. It allows for PXE booting over internet. I use that for my cloud imaging stuff and whatnot, and a lot of our customers are using it for pretty much all their deployment, both on premises and on cloud. But the long story short, the video that I had open earlier that I copied over to my temp folder here kind of shows that briefly in the beginning, where whoops, that went a little bit too quick, where we're downloading boot images over either HTTP or HTTPS, which is insanely more quick than trying to do a TFTP download, which you, by the way, really can't do over internet either. It really doesn't work that way, but HTTP and HTTPS works fine. So, yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Nothing so far.
Well, if you're out there, if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer. We have a whooping 35 minutes at our disposal this Smoky Wednesday.
No, I was just looking. I was just looking at the temperature in here because I turned off my air conditioner, and it is a little bit warmer than usual in the house.
I was talking to a friend who lives up in Phoenix yesterday. I think you know who it is, Mr. Mike Terrell, and he claimed
Yep.
they had 112 degrees, and that's warm.
Yeah.
So sad that I couldn't be there for this.
I've had about the same story from a friend in Austin for the last week. He sent me a feels like 119 or something like that. Some ridiculous 116, whatever it was, 112. Hot. It was hot.
It was like stay inside hot. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we have a question coming in from LinkedIn. It's John asking resources for iOS management using Intune. We used to have a course on the Academy for mobile device management exclusively. Now that one has merged into one of our master classes that we run on Intune. So we cover both Windows devices as well as Android and phones. So if you don't have anything to do in August, sure, you can spend 5 days with us and learn about that. If you're looking for a more less pricey option, we do have our friends over at Intune Training. I am pretty sure they had a little bit of iOS management on their channels. I figure we can search for that and see if we can. Yeah, I'll say there are a few resources related to that on the channel. So that would be a good start. I have purposely stayed away from mobile device management. I'm letting other people that are better on that than I am do that kind of work. So I will start there.
Yep. Good idea. All right, another question here on YouTube. Any experience with apps that do not cache their files to C Windows installer, resulting in repair, uninstall, upgrade, looking for an MSI and CCM cache that probably no longer exists?
Oh yes, many times. Not only that, but I also see sometimes administrators are getting creative enough, realizing, oh, there's a lot of MSI files in that folder. I probably don't need them, and they just go ahead and clean them out, and that works great until you need to indeed remove an application or upgrade one. And I was actually one of our customers. I had to troubleshoot where someone had been extremely creative and doing just that. The challenge is obviously, okay, so to give an idea what I'm talking about here, in the Windows installer folder, let's see. Why do I not see that one, or am I just being stupid at the moment?
Oh, I don't see it in the list either.
It's somewhere. Because I was writing some script for this to parse MSI content.
Is it just hidden?
Hidden, all right, good. See if I have for MSI. Invoke repair MSI repo. That sounds like a somewhat script. Yeah, I was looking for. So you can query what MSI it should have been by basically asking inventory. So in this case, I'm asking, you can do a different class if you want to make it quicker, but this one is not really great at querying through anything. But if I run this line here, it will run for a week. I'm asking for a specific product called the Stifler client here, but think of that as any application that you have installed that is an MSI application. And if this one actually decides to complete, that there is a COM object you can ask instead, and it's lightning fast. But what you can do is that you can ask it what MSI file it would look for in the Windows installer folder. So if I go to the Windows installer folder and search for that 5AA MSI, it's here. The challenge is, of course, yeah, I know this is really my Stifler client. I can see it when I do properties on it. But if that's deleted, this is how we figure out what it should be named. So then you can download the MSI from the vendor, give it this name here, and then you can run the upgrade from it. So I had to do a poor man's deployment solution. I simply put a bunch of zip files up on a web server, and I run a script that figured out if different versions were missing, okay, what would be the file name they needed, and I downloaded and extracted that file to that name, because then I can run the upgrade. Long story short, don't delete stuff from the Windows installer folder, because it's a bit painful to restore. But you can figure out with a bit of PowerShell what the name should have been for a given product, and then you can place that file in there and life is good.
That is clever.
Thank you.
Clever resolution to a tough problem, for sure. All right, so hopefully that helps. All right, Robert has an issue here on YouTube using a VBS script to move clients from a poorly built ConfigMgr environment to a new one. It is presently a package and want to make it into an application, but I can't seem to get the detection correct. I've tried registry. Mobile client is the new site code, but it doesn't work. Package works, but not the app. Needs some way to clearly let me know that it was successful from one infrastructure to the other, or one site to the other, is what I gather.
Yeah, for more complex applications like the ConfigMgr agent is actually a fairly complicated app, since it's not just copying a file or two or and set a registry key. It actually is several services as well. So if you want to truly make sure that one is successfully deployed, you can actually have a script that runs the detection instead. So when you create detection methods in ConfigMgr, you can use PowerShell scripts for that. So you can actually check for, did these 3 files copied over, is this registry cache present, and are these 2 services running? That would usually indicate, all right, it actually is okay. And in this case, since you're migrating from one ConfigMgr site to another, you can even check for things like the site code and whatever, because you have a lot of information available in WMI on the client that are related to the ConfigMgr client. I'm not sure if I have anything here that makes sense. Not related, but I'm basically asking one of the ConfigMgr client classes for something. And you can use a similar thing to get the site code. So I would start there. I would not be surprised if you start to Google around a bit if there were someone else who actually did a detection script for the ConfigMgr client, but I don't remember ever seeing one. Shouldn't be too hard though.
Awesome. Great question so far.
Like it.
Was a follow-up question on your MSI repair script. Is there any chance that that script is public for inspiration and a thank you for the help?
Well, can be. Question is, where did I get it from? From here. Copy. Bit of GitHub. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom.
Hot patching.
Yes. Should be available up here now if everything goes according to plan. So GitHub.com deployment research, and then you will find it in the MSI folder. There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. The community thanks you.
All right. Any other questions?
Just taking a look over here, make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, I mean, this office hours is indeed office hours. So if you have any questions, by all means, ask, fire away. And if there are content we can share, we will share it. Simple. Any other? Okay, that was the one from YouTube coming in. The question from Russell. It's been a long time, but wouldn't changing a ConfigMgr site just be a standard migration? Don't need special detection scripts, etc. You can absolutely use the native ConfigMgr actions to just deploy clients as well. You can also do client push, or you can have something else that installs the client. But if you want to have an application yourself that does it, it does not hurt to put in some detection scripts on it. Most times, just reassigning the site will work, but I have seen scenarios where you're going from a non-happy config manager site over to a happy config manager site, that the most reliable result is actually to have the old site remove the application or the agent and wait a little bit, do some cleanup, and then install the new one. So there are many options available to get the config manager client out there. So yeah, it's one of those lovely, it depends on the how bad the existing clients are out there. I have some scripts published. I think we shared them a few times, but apparently not there. Maybe in the root. Should probably move this to the config manager folder. That would be a smart idea. Remove config manager client completely. That would be a good script to move over here. Move. So yeah. Any other questions?
Well, we still got 19 minutes.
There you go. There's no going outside anyway, so might as well ask.
Yeah, exactly. Just checking over on LinkedIn and stuff right now to make sure that everything's coming through on the stream.
All right. So for those of you that arrived late, just a friendly reminder, on tomorrow we are running a free mini course for the community here on the Academy. It's Mike Niehaus and I doing a Windows 11 upgrade notes from the field session. So if you haven't signed up for that one, I highly recommend it. For those of you that attend live, there will be a bonus. That's all I can say.
Gonna try to clear my schedule then too.
I think you know what it is already, but I'll be happy to have you there.
Right. Always a pleasure to listen to you too. I would say that between the two of you, you know what you're doing when it comes to upgrading Windows.
Done it once or twice.
I believe that. In fact, I've seen it.
But I don't see any other questions coming in at the moment. So nope, nothing. Thank you everyone that joined today, and thank you for the questions that you sent in, and we hope to see you again next Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, everybody.